Joining us now is Sidnet Powell, attorney for General Michael Flynn and a former federal prosecutor, best-selling author. It's great to see you.
Thanks, Lee.
I just looking over some of the statements from the D.C. appellate court judges. You're outnumbered without question, and they're not even trying to disguise their political bias from the bench, are they?
There were certainly a lot of questions, Lou. I will have to leave it to individuals to listen to it, and I would encourage people really to listen to the arguments to understand how our court system is working or not working, as the case may be, because the rule of law is what separates us from countries like Colombia and Venezuela and failed states. We have to have a functioning rule of law that holds everyone accountable in the same way and not break rules for somebody just because it's Michael Flynn who was prosecuted when there was no case to prosecute. The government has now recognized that. The government moved to dismiss it back on May 7th, and we haven't been able to get the dismissal granted yet. And the court has no role in that.
Well, you have a politically... Is it unfair of me to say that it's pretty obvious to all of us who watch and follow and read about this case? Judge Emmett Sullivan, and I know at one time he was a hero of yours, but he has behaved like a monster of the left in this case. It is despicable what he has done. It is a disgrace to the judiciary, and some of the judges on this D.C. appellate court in bank at today's hearing. I'm amused by that, by the fact that they can't speak plain English or plain American from the bench. But I think it couldn't be much plainer to hear what Cornelia Pillard, the judge, said to you today. And I'd like us to put that up as a full screen, if you would, the quote. She said this: "It's the core of any judge's job to assess cases and view the strongest arguments that can be made on both sides. Your position, speaking to you, is no. He can't hear both sides from the law. He has to drop the case like a hot potato without adversary closing argument." What in the heck kind of balderall is that?
Well, I was certainly perplexed by that question, because one of the requirements in our Constitution is that there be an actual case in controversy. There's no controversy between the defendant and the government anymore. They both agreed that the case should be dropped. And since only the government can be required to prosecute something, I mean, it can't be required to prosecute something by the court. It can only do it if it chooses to do it. There's nothing left to litigate. And that's why every single case in the country in which the government has ever moved to dismiss a criminal case at any stage of the case, even after conviction and sentencing and on certiorari, the government gets that dismissal. All dismissals are granted.
How many irregular decisions has Judge Sullivan made at this point in the case that defy precedent and law?
Well, certainly his appointment of an amicus to stand in the stead of the government was highly irregular. His solicitation of amicus briefs by anybody that wanted to file one in a criminal case was highly irregular. When the court sent it back to him and told him by mandamus from the panel to grant the motion to dismiss, he didn't do that. Instead, he on his own, as if he were a party, which he's not, filed a petition for rehearing. And the court didn't strike that petition for rehearing. It accepted it. Yes, that's what we were in court for today.
And that's insane. It's not only unprecedented and not part of procedure, it's just crazy. And good for them. I mean, they've got 70% of the judges on the bank, as it were, judging the, I don't know what the hell they're judging, to be honest with you, the political winds, I suppose, and their preferences. We have now a judiciary that is showing itself to be rotten in political corruption, just as rotten as the former officialdom of the FBI and the Justice Department. The American people right now are about to become physically ill looking at what was once a judicial system that was the finest in all the world. an FBI that was storied in bravery and achievement, and it is rotten, and it may be rotten to the core for all we know. And now we have special investigators assigned, John Durham, to investigate the origins of Obamagate, and it looks like that's going to be a whitewash of the highest order. We not only lost our integrity, we have lost our guts. I'm deeply concerned about the state of our judiciary, the state of the Justice Department, and the FBI. I believe most Americans feel much the way I do. Your thoughts?
I'm very concerned too, Lou. I have always held our judiciary in the highest regard. I still do. I still want to. And I understand that sometimes they ask questions to test both sides that don't reflect what they think at all. But it's very important that they put politics out of this and decide the case as if it were John Doe, as opposed to creating a Michael Flynn exception to the rule of law that doesn't apply to anyone else, or that they wouldn't want to apply to somebody in their own family if they were in this situation. This has taken 4 years of the life of a dedicated American patriot who has just done everything humanly possible to serve his country. And it was started by an investigation that was corrupt from the beginning. They had no basis to investigate, and then they made up the false statements against him. And now the government's finally admitted the wrongs and wants to set it right, and we can't get the district judge to issue the order of dismissal. When every case in the country, the dismissal has to be granted. It's always granted because no court can make the government prosecute a case. So it's beyond frustrating, to say the least, that we're still here 3 months later trying to get a case dismissed that can't be prosecuted and should never have been prosecuted in the first place.
Well, there's something wrong as well with the highest court in the land, in my opinion. I don't know what the law calls for. I don't know the proper procedure. But I do know that the Chief Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court, watching this unfold, should reach down into the D.C. Appellate Court and grab them by the napes of their necks and say, get with the law and get your heads right. This is disgusting what he is putting up with. The entire federal judiciary looks like what it's become, politically corrupt and disgustingly so. Sidnet Powell, we thank you for everything you're doing for a man who has been, along with his family, tortured for 4 years, persecuted, not prosecuted, and now the court doesn't even have the sufficient integrity level to actually make it right. It's appalling. Sidnet Powell, you're an inspiration to all of us. We're delighted and honored to have you with us. Thank you.